There seems to be more global awareness by banking institutions in recent times towards addressing the environmental and social impact of their services. Here in Nigeria, there is a set of principles on sustainable banking, which is geared towards ensuring that these financial institutions are environmentally friendly. This is our focus today on Erathfile. Thank you for joining us. I am Ayala Kasim. In today's globalizing world, banks play a crucial role in allocating financial resources. Financial institutions play a key role in every segment of human activity. Banks' financial services are used too often for activities which are harmful to the environment, human rights, and social equity. However, in whatever way we look at it, banks can be powerful agents of change. More and more banks have realized that ignoring social and environmental issues could considerably increase their exposure to credit, compliance, and reputational risks. To advance sustainability, experts advise that banks must seek improved performance and results on the ground in affected communities and environment.
If we seriously address the issue of climate change, because if you have a farm, and out of nowhere, the effect of climate change hits that farm, your yield will be very low, so which means the return on your investment will be very low.
In Nigeria, banks have resolved through the Bankers Committee to embrace sustainable banking practices as it is becoming a new trend in today's modern banking business.
Well, I'm happy that in 2012, Nigerian banks, I think at their retreat in Calabar, if I'm right, adopted what we call the sustainable banking principles. It is good in the sense that if properly implemented, it will help because it will address the issue of environment, it will address the issue of economic, it will also address those basic principles that could be as a result of climate change, but at least the three arms of what we call sustainability will be addressed by this banking principle.
We know globally there are mega forces that are making businesses and organizations to imbibe sustainability, such as the recent financial crisis, the economic downturn that we've experienced. And nationally, in addition to that, there is also pressing environmental and social issues, such as poverty, youth unemployment, gender inequality, and climate change, deforestation, food insecurity, that had made the Nigerian financial sector to come together and develop these Nigerian sustainable banking principles. And it's something that is basically what it means is that instead of focusing on profits, we now have to do a balancing act and look at environmental and social considerations as well. And this is for us to be able to achieve sustainable development.
The Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles include commitments by the signatories to integrate environmental and social considerations into business activities, respect human rights, promote women's economic empowerment, and promote financial inclusion by reaching out to communities that traditionally have had limited or no access to the formal financial sector.
There are 9 overarching principles that will guide the financial institutions in how they will do their business operations, business activities. And these are, for instance, environmental and social risk in their business operations, in their business activities, as well as human rights, financial inclusion, women economic empowerment, capacity building, collaborative partnership, and reporting. So basically, these are the 9 principles. And what it means is that in addition to making sure that the banks do business with companies that do not carry out activities that impact negatively on the environment and human beings, they will also have to internalize these principles and make sure that within the bank, they also have a footprint, that environmental and social footprint within the bank. So for instance, for Central Bank of Nigeria, although we don't do lending activities, but we are internalizing these principles to make sure that whatever we do as an organization does not impact negatively on the environment and also on social issues. And also, we will also be looking at, in addition to our employees, be looking at any other person that we do business with, like our suppliers. We'll make sure that they are doing things that are within the provisions of the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles. And lastly, as a regulator, we will monitor compliance by the industry and also provide leadership and enabling environment for the industry to be able to implement the principles.
Since its launch, there have been a series of initiatives and dynamism towards embedding sustainability in the Nigerian banking sector. The launch of the principles has created a new market for sustainability services, for example, training and consultancy for both local and foreign players.
Sustainability is an emerging issue, even globally. So what we've been doing since the adoption is trying to build competencies and capacity within the industry so that people understand the issues, so that they could be able to implement them internally and then when they do business. But then even before the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles were adopted, there are some banks that were already implementing sustainability issues, because globally there are some international financial institutions that will not give you access to capital and will not do business with you until you are implementing some environmental and social risk management within your bank. So already some banks had been implementing this before we even came up with this. So it's just like a continuation for them.
While the banks are warming up to embrace this new way of doing business, there is a seeming apprehension and skepticism about the sustainability of the principles themselves when the current governor leaves office.
For the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principle, it is homegrown by the Nigerian banks for the Nigerian banks. So we did not import it from anywhere. There are the Equator Principles, which some of the Nigerian banks are members to, and they are already implementing. But this is what the Nigerian banks came together with other stakeholders, like the relevant ministries and parastatals like environment, power, agriculture. They developed these principles to suit our own purposes in Nigeria, so that it will also help us in our lending and investment activities to reduce the bad loans, that were experienced during the economic downturn. So this means that in the process also, a number of guidelines, at least 3 sector guidelines, were developed to guide the banks, when they are doing lending in those sectors. There is one in oil and gas, there is one in power, and then one in agriculture. But we are going to review and then add more sectors, as implementation goes on.
The main source of uncertainty, given the peculiarities of the Nigerian business environment, is a possible reversal of the principles if they are not pursued by subsequent central bank governors. In other words, sustainable banking in Nigeria could be abandoned.
In the Central Bank of Nigeria, we have institutionalized sustainability by creating a whole division on sustainability in the governor's department. And this is because it is important that initiatives like this should go beyond, outlive the governor that started it. So we've institutionalized that by creating a whole division, and there will be either a group or a team under the Banking Supervision Department. That has not been done yet, or a unit that will also make sure that this continues and is sustainable, because they are the ones that interface with the industry.